What happens when two rivals decide to team up against a bigger neighbor? It's not a movie plot. It's unfolding right now in the South China Sea. For years, the Philippines and Vietnam have had their own disputes, but a bigger threat is pushing them together. They're shifting from just talking to conducting actual joint naval drills. This isn't just a small step. It's a potential game changer for the entire region. How will this new partnership reshape the tense diplomatic landscape of the South China Sea? Stick around as we break it all down. On October 1st, the South China Morning Post dropped a bombshell report. It wasn't just speculation anymore. The Philippines and Vietnam were officially discussing practical cooperation between their coast guards. Think about that for a second. These are two countries that have historically competed for territory and resources in the very same waters. Now, they're talking about working together. This includes sharing information, coordinating patrols, and even conducting joint exercises. The report highlighted that the goal is to create a more unified front to manage regional maritime security. But what's the real driver behind this sudden camaraderie? It's a classic case of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Both nations are facing increasing pressure in their own waters, and they've realized that standing alone might not be enough. This cooperation signals a significant strategic pivot, moving beyond individual protests to collective action. Now, let's get to the heart of the matter: the shared challenge within their exclusive economic zones, or EEZs. Both Manila and Hanoi have been dealing with the constant presence of Chinese maritime militia vessels in their waters. These aren't just ordinary fishing boats. They are state-sponsored fleets used to assert claims and intimidate other nations. For the Philippines, it's the daily struggle around areas like Scarborough, Shoal, and the Spratly Islands. For Vietnam, it's a similar story near the Paracel Islands and Vanguard Bank. By joining forces, they can create a more effective monitoring and response system. Imagine coordinated patrols from both the Philippine and Vietnamese coast guards. It would be much harder for militia vessels to operate with impunity. This isn't about starting a fight. It's about establishing a presence and enforcing international law, like the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, within their rightful maritime zones. This collaboration aims to counter the gray zone tactics that have destabilized the region for years. The diplomatic landscape in the Philippines has seen a dramatic shift under the current administration. During the Duterte era, the approach was often seen as more accommodating towards Beijing, sometimes downplaying the 2016 arbitral ruling that favored the Philippines. However, the Marcos administration has taken a decidedly different path. It has actively worked to strengthen alliances, not just with traditional partners like the United States, but also with neighboring countries that share similar concerns. This pivot is crucial. It's a clear signal that the Philippines is diversifying its foreign policy and building a coalition of like-minded nations to uphold a rules-based order. This newfound partnership with Vietnam is perhaps the most significant example of this new strategy. It shows a proactive, rather than reactive, approach to regional security, moving past the previous administration's policies and forging a new path based on mutual interest and collective defense. So, where does ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, fit into all of this? For decades, ASEAN has operated on the principle of consensus, which has often made it difficult to form a unified stance against Beijing's actions in the South China Sea. China has effectively used its economic influence to create divisions within the bloc, preventing strong collective statements or actions. However, this bilateral cooperation between the Philippines and Vietnam could be a catalyst for change. It represents a mini-lateral approach where a smaller group of directly affected states takes the lead. This doesn't necessarily undermine ASEAN's unity. In fact, it could strengthen it. If this partnership proves successful, it could inspire other member states, like Malaysia or Indonesia, to join similar initiatives. It challenges the narrative that ASEAN is powerless and shows that member states can take proactive steps to protect their sovereignty. potentially forcing the bloc as a whole to adopt a more assertive and unified position. To truly understand the complexity of the situation, we need to look at the maps. The South China Sea is a web of overlapping claims. China's infamous 9-line, now a 10-line, claims almost the entire sea, directly conflicting with the EEZs of Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, and Indonesia. But even between the ASEAN claimants, there are overlapping claims. Vietnam and the Philippines, for instance, both claim parts of the Spratly Islands. This is what makes their recent cooperation so remarkable. They are choosing to set aside their own disputes to focus on the larger, more immediate challenge. This map shows just how intertwined their maritime interests are. By focusing on the vast areas where their internationally recognized EEZs are being challenged by an outside power, they are prioritizing the bigger picture. It sets a pragmatic decision to cooperate in areas of shared interest while continuing to manage their own bilateral disagreements peacefully. So, is this new Philippines-Vietnam partnership a definitive diplomatic win? It's certainly a major step in the right direction. By joining forces, they are sending a powerful message that they will not be intimidated and are willing to take collective action to defend their sovereign rights. This move enhances regional stability by creating a more balanced security dynamic. It's not about provoking conflict, but about preventing it through strength and unity. This collaboration creates a new precedent for how smaller nations can work together to uphold international law. While the challenges in the South China Sea are far from over, this alliance represents a significant and positive development. It's a testament to the power of diplomacy and a clear signal that the future of the region will be shaped not by a single dominant power, but by the collective will of its nations. Thank you so much for watching. This is a complex but incredibly important issue, and we'll be keeping a close eye on how it develops. What are your thoughts on this new partnership? Let us know in the comments below.